Hello everyone and welcome to this exciting new platform release event. So great to see so many of you sign up. We've had about 70 sign-ups, some new names, some old friends. So thanks for joining. Bringing you the very best in 3D surveys. So we're talking laser scan data for your architecture projects, be it from planes, cars, drones, tripods. And we've also got this really great platform to help you order, pay for, share, view, measure online. That is the LARKI platform, and we've also got some services that we do for you as well. So we'll go through all of that in just a second. A bit about me. So I'm Sam Cooks, the CEO of LARKI. I'm a registered architect, been in the industry for a frightfully long period of time, and I did a postgrad research master's into this exact topic, so from surveying to architecture to planning, and so we'll talk a little bit about that and how that's informed what we do now. Then we're going to hear from Luca, who is in Melbourne, and Richard is in Sydney, two of the nicest guys in the industry. Please reach out to them with any of your survey information, existing condition issues, and they will provide a solution for you. So Luca is going to talk about a project where there was some large equipment that was being delivered off the freeway through some kind of small artillery roads to an industrial plant, and making sure that the equipment didn't hit anything like power lines or trees or people's property. Rich is going to show a resi project where the owner of the house was in England, the other side of the world, and he was able to manage his house and do some maintenance and things like that remotely using our data, BIM and platform. So today I'm going to kick off with some background on the problem that we're addressing, the solution, some 3D laser scan data, and converting it into a BIM. Then I'm going to jump in live onto the brand new LARKI platform to show you the 2D map, memberships, payment flow, dashboard, and the cool juicy bits, the file manager, 3D viewer. This is going to be really interactive. We want to hear from you because we are, after all, serving you guys out there. So if there's something that we're not doing or you think we should change, we want to hear from you. And so we're going to do that through this app called Slido. So there'll be some polls, some suggestions for this bit called ideas, and then we'll have some Q&A as well. There'll be a prize draw at the end. So if you want $1,000 worth of laser scan data for your project, hang out until the end. You've got a very high chance of winning. And so we just need you to put in, when we read out your name, put in "I won" into the Q&A at the end, and we'll reach out and make sure that we get that to you. If you have any burning questions, we can address, Luca, Rich and I can address that at the end as well. So this is how we kind of do it. So if you've got a phone, you that QR code now, you snap that with your phone and it will take you straight to our Slido page. If you don't have a phone handy or you can't QR, you can always jump on a web browser and put in sli.do into your link URL browser bit, and put in the enter your code, which is LARKI 06. And up the top there, you'll see some tabs. So there'll be a Q&A tab. So at any time during this presentation, if you want, if you've got any questions, you don't have to wait to the end. Just chuck it into that Q&A tab on Slido. Then the ideas, so ideas is slightly different. So it's more about suggestions. So I think you should change that, or this is missing, or I'd love to see this, or and the cool thing about that is that you can upvote other people. So if you see someone said something that you want, just upvote theirs, and then the upvoted ones will live at the top. And we'll try to get to those as high priority. So please do that. And we're going to have just some structured questions at the end as well. So rather than that being at any time, that's just at the one. We'll do that together one by one, and then we'll have the Q&A at the end. So kicking off with a bit of background, particularly for the newbies, what we do is provide 3D surveys that are affordable, quick, and easy, so that you can get approved architecture done affordably, quickly, and easily, so that hopefully the built outcomes are also affordable, quick, and easy. And so we are really saving time for architects, also for other stakeholders, property owners, planners, etc., who are kind of assessing these designs and how they fit into the neighbourhood context. And then for the people that are paying for this stuff at the end of the day, because we are saving time, that translates to saving money as well. That's what a 3D laser scanner looks like, a tripod-based one anyway. If you're out there doing site measure-ups with a tape measure, please stop. It's wasting your time, fraught with danger. These things can do it far more accurately, far more detailed, and much quicker than a human with a tape measure ever could, or even a disto. Just don't do it. And just to go right back to the research I did a few years ago, just to give you a kind of context, is that back a few years ago, 98% of architects in Victoria were using some form of 3D software for their design. However, only 9% were using the really cool 3D data captured by surveyors in their software. So there's clearly this disconnect there, and there's this inefficient workflow. So you get a 2D survey, surveyors work in meters, architects work in millimeters, so you've got to scale it up, you might have to rotate it, you've got to go to site and measure up yourself as well, count bricks. So all of that stuff is a waste of time, and you don't need to do any of that anymore. And this was the biggest kind of bugbear and response from the respondents to that research that I did over a few years, was that there's just not enough information flowing through from surveying into planners. So the proof of that is that 52% of planning permit applications require further information. So clearly, if you give them enough information to start with, and then they won't ask for more, which can stall a project for weeks or even months, getting that going site, collecting that information and redoing some drawings. So this one wasn't as frequent, but when it did happen, it's quite severe. So you obviously don't want to be running your jobs at a loss, losing clients, or even getting put into litigation. So the solution is really this spatial digital twin. So we're using the sharing economy so that people have access to this shared source of truth. And how we're doing that is we've got some really great data partners and surveyor network that, and we capture data ourselves in-house. That goes uploaded into the LARKI database, such that because we're reselling this, means that property owners can now afford, so rather than just the 9% of projects, all projects can now afford this data, so that the designers and engineers have the best information to do their best work, and then others, non-technical people that don't, have BIM software and all, they can also just click on a link online and also be viewing and sharing and managing that data. Really, we're servicing property owners, which includes property developers, planners, facility managers, and they want to reduce risk, make the most of their site, reduce project delays and project costs. For architects, which includes draftees, engineers, landscape architects, they want to reduce professional indemnity risk, do their best designs, have more time to actually focus on the designs and reduce their costs so they can maximize their profits. So really, this is the problem, is that the old way of doing providing the information is through 2D surveys. I want to stress that the surveyors themselves are not the problem. Like, we work with surveyors, we're effectively surveyors ourselves. It's this old way of, it's the 2D plan that you get, that's the problem. So there's a lot of really great surveyors out there now that are doing scanning and providing really great information, and we're supporting them in doing that. So shout out to all the awesome surveyors out there in the audience. But really, we're trying to get the whole industry off these kind of 2D paper-based, PDF sort of information, because, like this, can you see my, I don't know if you can see my cursor there, but this point at a certain height, it'd be really accurate, probably millimeter accurate, but this line in between these points is not. So proportionally speaking, these are kind of more like diagrams than they are accurate representations of reality. And so what happens is, through the course of the project, when it's discovered that that wall is in fact not straight, that can lead to costly rework, people getting sacked. How did you not know that wasn't a bowed wall, and even litigation. So now what we're sort of leveling up the whole industry. So instead of working with 100 site data points on a paper equivalent, now we're working in millions of points in 3D. So this is for a small site. And with the data that's already in our database, instead of waiting weeks to get survey information and do measure ups yourself and draft it yourself, the data in the database can be delivered to you sometimes in minutes. And instead of paying $2,500 for a survey for a small residential or commercial project, we have data that we could sell you for 300, 150 for a streetscape, 150 for an aerial. And so it really is much better quality. It's a lot faster and a lot cheaper when we've got that data in the database that we can provide. Just really quickly, so looking at cost, the people are like, well, it's like $2,500 for this old way of doing things. But really, what you also need to factor in is that someone needs to pay for the architect to go to site and do a measure up. And then they're also paying for them to create the existing condition, BIM models and drawings. And then there's not enough information in there. So you'll have to address requests for information. So there's fees associated with that. They won't be as accurate as they should be. So, there'll be reworking of things that are not fitting. And all this takes longer than it should. So there's going to be delays. So really, it's not $2,500 to the project. It's closer to $10,000. And so what LARKI's trying to do is really remove these blue ones here. So the measure ups, RFIs, reworks, and delays, which in itself will save you about $3,000 on a small project. And it will make it quicker for you to do the BIM modeling and drafting yourself, or we can do it for you. So we could do some BIM modeling or even drafting and provide it in a platform. Much more simplified workflow. So the old way of doing things, owner engages an architect gets quotes for surveys, surveyor gets engaged and goes out to site, collects 3D information, even if it's one point at a time with a total station, then degrades that 3D information to 2D, puts on the plan, gives it to an architect gets that, does their own measure up, and then builds it back up to 3D. So that process can take 4 people about 4 weeks. We do things a bit differently at LARKI. You go online, put in your site address, pay, and within minutes you can be viewing and measuring 3D, high resolution 3D information. So it takes one person, hours or sometimes minutes. We're really excited to launch these memberships. So we're starting with the Essentials membership, and it's an annual contract. So it's the same. It's the one kind of membership here. The only difference is how you pay it. So if you want to pay upfront in one go, which is usually easier if you've got a project, you kind of package it in with the surveying cost and they pay it in one go. But if you want to kind of, as an architect, pay for it yourself, then maybe you want to pay it monthly. And that affords you discounts to the data and, you know, the 3D laser scan data and the services. So you do enough projects or a big one, then it will effectively mean you get the membership for free, and then you get access to this really cool 3D viewer. So it's a web app, it's not desktop software, you don't need to install anything, you just go online. And also this file manager to share files and the high-res aerial imagery, as a map underlay. So you get access to all of that, well worth it. So just to kind of summarize the main offering, 3D laser scan data, which is the output of a 3D laser scan, is what's called a point cloud. Convert that to BIM and then share it and manage it online and view it. So yeah, we're getting some really great feedback. Saved us days of our time. It's worked with certainty and precision. We've got some top tier clients now, gold medal winning architects. So we're pretty stoked about that. In terms of the, just to kind of dive into these different types of data a little bit more. So the 3D data in the database is the most affordable, the most convenient and quickest way to kind of get spatial information. So what we're talking about is, we started in Melbourne, so we've got a lot of data, you know, the 3D laser scan data that we can sell in Melbourne. We've been in Sydney for a few years now, so we've got quite a lot up here as well. I'm based in Sydney now, and we're about to launch in Brizzy as well. So just to show you what the 3D laser scan data looks like, that's captured from a plane. So this is our cheapest data set. It's in the platform, so you can get it within hours, sometimes minutes. But it is the lowest detail and accuracy data set that we've got. So it's good for kind of broader precinct sort of planning, you know, like how high is this building? How much is this building separated from this building? Those kind of big massing sort of questions. Not so good for facades, for it's captured from above. But this data set, Screetscape's captured from a car driving down the road, so it's really good for facades. So these two data sets together work really well. So anything that you can see from that, you know, pretend you're the eyes of the car, will be in this data set. So you can see power lines, fenestration, parapets, signage. So at the moment, those two data sets are what we've got in our database for kind of immediate, really affordable sale. If for whatever reason that data doesn't cover everything that you need, it might be not up to date enough. We do have data capture services, so we have in-house LiDAR, drone, survey grade scanners. And we've got a network of drone providers and terrestrial laser scan providers, basically all over Australia and soon to be New Zealand as well. So we can do that. And really the cool thing about these services is that we can package it all together for you. So you get it from one provider and it's all aligned, and so you don't need to move or scale anything. You just import origin to origin, and in comes the aerial, in comes the tripod, in comes the 2D feature plan and the BIM, and it all, it saves time having to move things around. Don't have to do that anymore. So an example of some data capture that we do from a drone. So really good for, this was for a shopping centre. So it's a big area, great for roofs and to see things like mechanical, electrical, plumbing, you know, large grounds, like we've done quite a lot of churches and schools with big sort of sporting fields nearby. So it's really good for that. It is more expensive and it does take longer because we have to go and capture it. So it's similar price to a traditional survey, but it is higher detail and accuracy. So this is the exterior tripod. So you can see how the resolution has really increased here. So this is the highest detail, highest accuracy files that we can provide. And so from a bit under $2,000 is the kind of cheapest to be able to send a team out to do something like that. And you can see there, you can measure things like what's the sill height of that window from the footpath. Same for interiors. So this is a interior scan of a church. So things like lots of detail, decorative trusses, stained glass windows, all those sorts of formally complex shapes, really easy to capture. It doesn't matter if it's flat or complicated, the scanner will pick it up. And this, you can see the high level resolution of this. We can actually provide higher resolution files, but this is actually in the web app, so it is slightly reduced, so it's optimized for the web. And then once we've got that scan data, then we can convert it into a BIM file for you. So whether that's a terrain file or a topo service. So BIM being building information model, it's kind of the industry standard way that architects and engineers work these days. It's a virtual building, so it's an object-oriented file that's made up of components, and so we can provide convert the points from the laser scan into those BIM components. So whether it be the terrain, the walls, windows, columns, roofs, doors, same for the interiors. And when you're in the actual BIM file as an architect, if you don't need to model something, why would you? Just import, click import the point cloud, and blip, there you've got the neighborhood context in really high resolution. Put it on a sheet, print it out, send it off to planners. This particular one went through Port Phillip in Victoria with 0 requests for information. And this architect was like, in my many decades being an architect, I've never not had an RFI. So it just goes to show that if you give them enough information, then they won't request more. So planners love to see things like neighborhood character. So you can see the actual character of, the ironwork, the kind of the lean on that chimney, the actual tree. And then you can put your proposed sort of BIM in the middle of it. So now I'm going to jump over and show you the new LARKI platform live, which is super exciting. So we're going to go over auto scope area, downloading shapes, the memberships, signing up for a membership and buying files, seeing the status of your projects in the dashboard, jumping into a specific project to see who did what when, download. You can actually upload files as well, but you can also download the point cloud and BIM files that we've provided. And then I'll very quickly touch on the 3D viewer, but Luca and Rich are going to spend a bit more time on the 3D viewer. So now we're going to jump over to the live LARKI app. So as you can see here, very cool new website. So there's with a search field, a lot of the stuff that I've explained today is explained here. So you can either look at the recording afterwards or you can come back to the website. So architects, planners, the data in the database, which is affordable, convenient, and fast. The 3D data capture services, which is more about kind of currency and detail. And then the platform, so the high-res 2D map, 3D viewer, file manager. This cool new feature that we've got means that you can enter your site straight in at the top of the homepage there. And so put in, say, let's go to this one. And then what will happen is when the app loads, you'll see, with any luck, the automatic shape creation. So instead of wasting time doing the shapes yourself, the app will automatically create those shapes. And then yeah, it's sort of loading now. So you'll see that it's automatically created those shapes for you, so you don't actually need to provide us with scope areas yourself anymore. Like if that covers what you need, then all you need to do is go straight to the order button. However, if you want to say edit something, so I won't just, so here it's already populated the cart for you if you want, so you can go straight to the order, or you can edit it. So I could say turn off all of the shapes, turn the lot area, so you can see there the lot area on and off. You can trial the high res, so that's the Metro Map high res, so you can have a quick go of it for free for a period of time if you want. And so that's for Metro Map, so that allows you to kind of zoom, so it's much higher resolution and it allows you to kind of zoom right in there. But if we sort of go back to this sort of standard Google one, so if you're on a free tier, so you haven't signed up as a member yet, then you'd be on the satellite from, rather the high res is captured from a plane, so it's closer, higher resolution, whereas the satellite is captured from space. So, and you can see it's more current. The Google one, it was still under construction, this thing, but whereas the Metro Map shows the completed, so it's a more current. So you pay a bit extra, you get more currency and more resolution from the 2D map as well. So going back here, we've got, so there's your scope area, there's your lot area there, and so you can turn that lot area on and off. I might show you now the aerial scope, so you can see there that, so that was captured in February 2020. You might want to say, for instance, make that bigger. So you can do that. It will update the scope area and the price. You might want to say, get rid of that. Okay, cool. So that I'm happy with that scope area. I'm happy with that price. So I'll just hide that one off. And with the Screetscape, so I'll turn that on, turn the aerial off, and you can see here that was captured in December 2020. And again, I could edit that if I wanted to. You can also create your own shapes. So if you can use this tool to say, do some master planning or something like that. So you might say, okay, well, this part here is going to be stage 2 of my development. You can measure. You can do, measure sort of lengths and areas. So you can see there that the area of that shape is 623 meters squared. You might want to add that. Because you might not understand which, what data you want. I mean, this on the left here gives you an indication of the pros and cons of each of those different types of data, and you can kind of add it from the left-hand side here if you want to. But you still might be a little confused, so you might just want to add it as unspecified and put the order through anyway, and then one of the sales guys will be in touch and help you with that. Or you can just use it to create your own shape. So you might want to call this sort of stage 1 or building 2 or something like that. And then you can actually download this shape, which is brand new. This is really cool. So you can download this shape that you've just created as, if you're a surveyor, you might want to do it in MGA, so Map Grid of Australia, in a meters unit. If you're an architect, you're more likely wanting to do it in millimeters and truncated, so it's not too far from the project origin. And so that's really handy, and means that you'll have a kind of spatially kind of aligned shape that you've now got in CAD. That you've sort of traced something on the map, and now you've got it in CAD, which is really cool. I mean, this didn't exist when I was had my architecture practice. And so I'm just gonna delete that one because I know what I want. I'm gonna delete these guys because I don't want those. I just want the streetscape and the aerial. It's only for that big amount of area there. So what are we talking? Like 8,500 square meters. It's only $900-ish, and if you're a member, it's actually $700. So it's much cheaper if you're a member. So you can see the members discount there. And then I go, okay, cool. I'm going to order this. And I actually want to become a member now because I want that saving. I've got more projects coming up. You might want to I'm not a member, and that's fine too. You can kind of go through and just order the data without becoming a member. But most customers, because they're usually ordering enough data or have enough projects that they want to become a member and get access to the 3D viewer and high-res 2D from Metro Map that I just showed you, and that file manager to make it easier to kind of share and manage files, which I'll show you in a second. So let's just say I'm going to pay that monthly. Signed up. And you can see here, I'm going to use Revit, and this is going to be church refurb project. Add title ID. Just put in whatever comments you want to come through to the customer solution team. Continue to pay. And so I'm gonna add a new card here. So let's just add a card. Say that, for instance, and then add that card. Oh, sorry. So I'm not going to add a card here because then I'll have to pay for it. But let's, in the next screen, you just go pay, and it goes, thanks for the payment, awesome. And then it will take you back to the dashboard. And then, so here's my project now, and I can see, you can, in the app view, I'll actually do it on this one, so dashboard. So you can see here, here is all, it was ordered. This is what you ordered. This is when you ordered it. Status updates. Here are your files to download. You can also, I might just show you another project. So that's the demo project. So when you log in yourself, that will be available to you. If, for instance, this one here, if I wanted to invite users, so I can't share the demo project with people because it's not a real project, but for an actual project, I could add whoever I wanted. And then they would then be invited to that project. And then they'll get notified of that, and then they can share it with other people as well. Once that's then live, then you can, either from the dashboard or from here, you can just click on that 3D view button, and it will take you to the 3D viewer, which is a Pointera, powered by a Pointera 3D viewer. And once that loads, you'll see the 3D file. Here we go. So our internet's running a bit slow, it must be. I think it's because of the live stream going through it as well. But so here we go. We're in the 3D viewer demonstration project. So you can see there that people have been doing some pretty crazy dimensions. But there it is. So I might let Luca and Rich kind of take you through the 3D viewer in a bit more detail. So if we go back to up next, we've got Luca, who's going to present to you an industrial project where they were delivering big pieces of equipment from a freeway all the way through these little local roads to an industrial plant and making sure they don't hit anything along the way using our 3D viewer. Thanks very much, Luca.
Thank you, Simon. Hi, everyone. My name is Luca Costanza, and I'll take you through the Coraio refinery use case. So LARKI was engaged to provide information about these local roads connecting the freeway to the client's industrial plants. The problem that LARKI was asked to solve was basically to make sure the client could deliver big pieces of equipment to the industrial plant without hitting any power lines, trees, buildings, and fences. And the LARKI solution was basically to provide the client a 3D Screetscape point cloud and a beam terrain, which is right here, which I'm going to show you very quickly. So we organized this for the client as well. And just for you to fully view the point cloud, I'm going to switch the beam terrain off. As you can see, the engineers have created lots of dimensions along the road and saved some bookmark views right here on the left-hand side. So when I hover one of them, you see actually preview, and I'm actually going to take you through some of them because as you can see, the engineers have taken dimensions of some power lines, so they knew exactly what the clearance was. The Screetscape data is not the highest resolution data, as Simon was suggesting previously, but for big stretches of road like this, it's good enough to take measurements. And it's also very affordable and quick to download. You can use a 3D Screetscape point cloud for buildability and transport risk assessments, so you can affordably and quickly understand the existing conditions of a site and create yourself a buildability analysis. You can view the Screetscape point cloud via the 3D viewer, which is what I'm using now. You just need an internet connection and take measurements and notations. The data is also compatible with all major architectural software programs. The Screetscape point clouds are available for nearly every road in Australia and New Zealand, except for private roads and small lanes. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to chatting with you later on. Back to you, Simon.
Thanks, Luca. That was awesome. Yeah, it was like an 8-kilometer stretch of road there that they were able to get really affordably within minutes or hours to do that assessment to make sure that they don't kill anyone trying to deliver this big equipment to that industrial plant. Awesome. So now we're going to hear from Rich. How did I introduce you at the start? One of the nicest guys in the industry. And the funnest and the cheekiest. So we might get a bit of comedy here, people. But Rich is going to be presenting a residential project in New South Wales, in Sydney, and the client was based in the UK. So the client was able to kind of remote in from the other side of the world and manage maintenance and do that sort of thing. Take it away, Richard.
Thanks a lot, Simon. All right, so as you can see here, this is a project we recently completed for a client, as Simon said, who was living remote in the UK, but really wanted to invest in a digital twin of his property on the lower North Shore of Sydney in Mossman. We think this is a particularly good example to show you because it shows you the combination of different point clouds we have available and how powerful it can be when it all comes together. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to start by just showing you the underlying BIM model, which we were able to generate by abstracting the point cloud. So this has been generated from the point cloud capture. You can see it's a really detailed model, which the architect would be able to import straight into their software. It would be compatible with any architectural modeling software. And this would enable the architect to then do any alts and additions or make any modifications to the property. So that's pretty cool. That's an added scan to BIM feature which we offer. What I'll now do is turn on the point clouds and show you how it all comes together. So firstly, what I'm going to show you is the streetscape on its own. So this data, as Luca will have shown you on the Corio job, it's very affordable. You can get this from just a few $100s in any inner urban sites in Sydney, Melbourne, and increasingly in Brisbane. And what you can see here as we zoom in is that we've been able to affordably understand the immediate context around the subject site. Now, as we saw on Luca's project, we can head over here to the distance measurement tool on the left, and we can take a height measurement straight from the model there. So you can see, you can take a level or a measurement from anywhere on site. What I'm now going to do, that black area you can see in the middle, that is the actual site. And so what I'm going to do is turn on those layers. So we've got the tripod interior layer and the tripod exterior layer. So what we actually did here was we've aligned this point cloud information with the existing data, streetscape data for the site to give you a complete point cloud model. So as we zoom in here, you're going to see just how close that point spacing is and how richly detailed the model can actually be. So here we go. Now we're in the front yard of this beautiful property. And I'm going to take another dimension here just to show you how easily the measurement tool here, distance measure tool, will actually snap onto the model and take a measurement for us. So we're just going to do that now. All right. Here we go. And you'll see here, by toggling with the shift button, you can change from X to Y dimensions and get an overall dimension from the model. So super handy. And you can do this all from your desktop, obviously, through our 3D viewer. I'm going to show you a couple of other features now. So the first one I want to show you is the height clip tool. So if we go once again, actually just before we do that, I'm just going to isolate the model here. So we're going to have a look from above, and we're going to use the rectangle clip tool so that we're just focusing on the area we want to take measurements from. So you watch this now. I simply draw the shape over the site, and there we have it immediately isolated. Okay, so there's our model, and I'm now going to use the height clip tool. So that is here on the left once again. We choose a point on the model, and we can take a bit of a look inside, just like a doll's house. So to have all of these as-built conditions at your fingertips is incredibly powerful. As you can imagine, you can see all the existing joinery. You can see, kitchen sinks, bookshelves, even some of the furniture if it was still in situ when we scanned. So I'm once again going to use that distance measure tool, and I'm going to take a measurement across this room to the opposing wall. There we go. So no need to go back to site to double check these things, and you've got absolute certainty that that is the dimension of the room. Okay, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to show you another tool here that's pretty amazing. This is the section tool. So I'm going to head around the front, and we're going to cut a section through the model here. This is one of the most powerful ways you can leverage the point cloud, as you'll see in a moment. So we head over onto the left, and we might go from the backyard here straight through to the street. And there we have a section. On the right-hand side here, you can even set the depth. Obviously, a shallower section is probably preferred in most cases, so you're just picking up the walls. And what's really amazing here is that, you can imagine you could spend all afternoon trying to interpret plans to try and do this, but here you've got the outline of the various spaces within, and you can step forward and backward. So, you can step through the model. You can see there we're now picking up shelving within the underground garage. You can see we're picking up the slope of the street and the front drive. All sorts of information coming out there. You might wish to set that section a little bit thicker here and pick up more detail. So once again, another really powerful way to leverage that point cloud. So yeah, thanks for your attention. I'll send it right back to Simon now, and we'll run through a few more items. Thank you, everyone.
Great, that's very cool. Nice to see an underground secret car park and secret man cave in the basement there, Rich. We got approval from that client to show that, so that's very cool.
Yeah.
And then,
shout out to Eduardo if you're in the room too before we go. Thanks for that.
G'day, Eduardo, thank you. And so now we're going to go to you, the audience. So we really would like to hear from you, in particular, some feedback. So to do that, what we do is you use your phone, snap that QR code if you didn't do it at the start. If you can't use the phone to snap the QR code, just go on your web browser, put in sli.do, and then enter that that code there. And so what once you've got Slido open, you'll see those top tabs. So again, any questions, put them in the Q&A. Any suggestions, so rather than, oh, what is that, more like, I think you should do this, put them in the ideas section, because then you can upvote other people's ones. But now we're going to do some polls. So in Slido, if you click on the poll tab, what we would love to hear from you about is this new LARKI platform features. Which do you feel you would most likely use? So the high-res 2D map with the awesome Metro map aerial photo underlay, or perhaps the auto shape creation. So you just put in the site address and then it automatically creates a scope area for you to save time briefing surveyors. The lot area, your site boundaries and site area. That's from a government data set, so they're not very accurate, but they give you a bit of an indication. If you need accurate title measurements, then you need to go to a registered surveyor for that. But in terms of just getting a rough area, it's very handy. Then 2D shape drafting. So I showed you that kind of green shape that you can kind of create your own shapes there. You could rename it like building 1, stage 2, whatever you want, and then see what the kind of surrounding dimensions are in the area is, and then you could download it to use in your own kind of AutoCAD. So is that something that you feel like you would use a lot? The file manager, so in terms of if you've got lots of projects on or a big team, it's a big complicated, like we've done scanning and BIM modeling for hospitals and universities and office towers, and there's a huge amount of stakeholders involved, and so it can get very complicated, like who downloaded what, when, and so that helps you manage all of that. And then the 3D viewer, so particularly Rich and Luca was showing you some of those tools there, like the bookmarked saved views, the measurements that you can do sort of perfectly vertical or perfectly horizontal, turning on and off the BIM, the existing condition BIM and the point cloud, having that map, underlay. That 3D viewer is really cool from Pointera. Okay, next poll 2 is, let's see if we got the next one on LARK.
Change it.
No, the poll thing. If you switch it to the next one. Yeah. So in terms of the next data products, thanks Ian, is so this poll, is everyone seeing this? Hopefully everyone's seeing this poll live. So this is the live one. Yep. So the next question, was the first one on first? Did you get that one first?
Should I put on the stream?
No. Just I'm asking you the question, so people that was on.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. Yep. Great. So the first poll was successful. Yeah, we got some feedback on the first one. So now we're on the second poll in Slido. So again, open Slido, put in these suggestions. We really want to hear from you because there's no point going away and busily building things that people don't need. So this one's more about the kind of downloadable files that we provide. So that the medium resolution and accuracy, but really affordable and quick files like the ones captured from planes, the aerial or the car streetscape, or maybe it's the more expensive but much more current and higher detail drone captured LiDAR, or the exterior tripod, interior tripod, or maybe it's you're not fast with the point cloud stuff. You just want to go straight to BIM because you're working in BIM. That's cool. So if that's the case, you can select those. For those two last two polls, you can select as many of those as you want if you want. So we're getting some results on that one, Ian. Yeah, we've had a few. Cool. The next one is the benefits. Yeah, so this, I think you can only select one of these. So if you had to pick one, what would it be? Would it be saving time, saving money, reducing risk, high quality? So you want the highest resolution possible. You don't care about price. It just needs to be the best. Or so there's ease of use. So like this cool platform that we're building for you to make it really easy to order, pay for, share, measure online. So more about that kind of a user experience point of view. So we've had a bit of feedback there, have we, Ian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. And then the final one is more about what's happening. What do you want next? So what do you feel like we should add or change? It might be around, we're thinking about having some point cloud files, so the streetscape and the aerial available for a whole city only online. So you can't download it, but you can see the whole lot. So you could zoom into the bit that you're concerned with and kind of see it before you pay for it and download it. So that's one of the things that we're potentially working on. Live collaboration, being able to do things with multiple people at the same time on any of these features that I've said before. The automatic scan to BIM, so exterior walls and topo surface, so they're products that you would like quickly and affordably. Maybe it's something around invoicing, so maybe you're not paying for these files, maybe you want someone else to pay for it. Or maybe you pay for some of it, someone else pays for some of it. So split invoicing and having others pay for it. So you order it and give it to someone else to pay. Point cloud segmentation. So we could have various parts of the point cloud separated into separate layers. So like we showed you on the 3D viewer, how you have the streetscape and the aerial and the tripod exterior layers. We could do the same with features. So we could have, say, a wall feature and a topo surface feature, and so you can separate the point cloud and turn on and off. You might turn off all the trees, for instance. So if that's something that's you think would be of value for us to do next, vote for that one. Deviation reports. So because reality is different is not straight, flush, plumb. Like it's just not. So it's important to kind of know when we do this scan to BIM, or you know, in the future, maybe you upload your own BIM and scans, but to be able to compare the scan to the BIM, so you know, it might be that, like, if you cut a section through a part of the wall, it's like, oh, this is way out, it's like 100 mil out or something. But then you look at the, you know, 95% of the wall, and it's like it's all within 20 mil. And so you wouldn't kind of redo the whole wall just for this one tiny little bit that's kind of kinks out or whatever. So to kind of see that visually and get a report on that gives you confidence that the BIM from the scan to BIM is actually accurate enough for your purposes. So that's something that we can put up automatically on the platform, potentially, if you want it. Having more up-to-date data, so working with our partners to get more data sooner, working with other partners. So we're in negotiation with some other people at the moment, to big data partners, to sell for them and get their data on our platform as well. So if you're a big data provider, you know, you've got a lot of laser scan data, please reach out to me afterwards. We'd love to sell it on your behalf, particularly to kind of the small to medium size projects. That's kind of really our focus, really helping everyone, all architecture projects, get the information really quickly. So if that's not your focus, but you've got the data, let us help you kind of sell it through our platform. That kind of feeds into coverage as well. So some of our data partners don't have cover in some areas where we're getting lots of work. So we'll go out to other data providers and see if they've got it, and see if we can get it up there. And we've also got our own sort of data capture capabilities. So if we can't find a partner that's got it, we can go and get it ourselves. Or maybe it's the final option there, which is sharing of saved views. So Luca showed you kind of the bookmarked views. Perhaps we should build a tool where it's really easy for you to share that particular view. So you might, as you know, Rich's use case where there's the property owner was on the other side of the world. He might have a tradie that needs to go to site and say move a boiler, like you know, a meter to the left or a meter east or whatever. He could kind of jump into the LARKI 3D viewer, save that view, put a dimension on it, put a little annotation on it, which says, Jerry Plumber, please move it like this over here, and then share the link, and then the plumber can go in to the 3D, that actual 3D view, and know exactly where it is on site, know how to get to that part of the building and see it in 3D, and maybe put his own measurements on there. So perhaps that's something that you think would be of value, particularly for facility managers. That could be really cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to Slido and show you the results. So we'll start with the first one. So there's the platform features. So it looked like file manager. Yeah, that's cool. So LARKI's activity timeline with who downloaded what, when, and shared what. That seems like it's the most popular. Second favorite is a tie between the 2D shape creation and the 3D viewer. Very cool. Must be that everyone's kind of got their Metro map or near map already and don't need the high-res 2D map through LARKI. It's probably worth mentioning that you might want to reconsider that, because getting it through us is a very, very affordable way to do it, because it's bundled in with the rest of the features. Next one there. It was a data product. So BIM Terrain is the winner there. Very cool. So Screetscape and exterior tripod, and BIM. Yeah, so they are actually our most popular products. So that kind of makes sense. That's very cool and very interesting. Next one there, Ian. Time saving. Of course, we are a tech company, and tech is the best at saving time. So that does make a lot of sense, and thank you for that. It makes us feel good that we're on the right track. Next one is what next? So yeah, I mean, obviously the BIM terrain was the most popular product, and so if we can make that faster, cheaper, more accurate to acquire, then that would make sense. So that's great. And exterior walls number 2 in BIM. Awesome. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating in that. That was that was really handy. So let's see if anyone's put in any ideas there, Ian. Is that the ideas one?
We had some questions in the Q&A actually,
but we didn't have any ideas. So no suggestions, anyone? You can put some. I might just sit here for a little bit and see if there are any suggestions coming through for things that you would like us to change. It could be something that you don't like about what we've done so far. This is too hard to use, or I don't get that, or what do you mean by, like putting a better explanation of this or whatever. Oh, come on. It's such a cool feature where you could upvote other people's suggestions. No, Bueller, Steve, Alan. There we go. I'd love to be able to leverage the high-res map for master planning. Yeah, that's cool. So. Yeah, we're looking at making the 2D map have almost like 2 modes. It's sort of like a drafting mode and then like a data ordering mode. At the moment, they're sort of mixed into the one thing. So being able to kind of create shapes with no intention of using that shape for a scope area. It's just you want to trace out a building, or you want to put a shape on the 2D map and share that 2D map with someone to say, here's the really, metro map underlay that's up to date and really kind of high resolution, and I've traced out some areas over that and labeled them, and I can share that with other people. So that's really cool. Introduction membership fee for beginner. We have a free tier. I mean, we didn't sort of talk about the free tier, and we're going to put more into the free tier. And so, and we also for newbies, and you heard it here first, people. If you get in and poke Rich or Luca, they can. They've got a few giveaways up their belt, so. You might be able to get off them a 3 months of the membership for free. So make sure you call Luca and Richard, and once you've got a project that you want to play around with, you can use it's kind of, we're calling it kind of LARKI money or LARKI credits. So there's a bit of a gag that we've done with that one. So yeah, reach out to them. Yes, that's cool. You can upvote those 2 people if you like. Can I preview desired aerial and streetscape data before purchase? Yeah, so that in the what next kind of poll, that was one of the suggestions. So if you are on the LARKI dashboard, you'll see that there's a demonstration project in there. So what we're planning on doing is having so you would nominate one city, say on the free tier, and so if your city's Melbourne or Sydney, or it would be the most obvious ones because they've got the most data for those 2 at the moment. Then that would be like a line, a project kind of, if you like, in our in our dashboard, and you could click on the 3D viewer of that and see the whole data set. So you'd zoom in on a particular area in that data set and view it only. So you wouldn't be able to use some of the tools, and you wouldn't be able to download it. You'd be able to view it, and then you could kind of go, oh yeah, that's enough information that I need. And like I can see there's a little bit missing here, but I don't really need that little bit missing. And for $200, that's awesome, great. I'm going to download that bit. You can kind of, what they call in the industry, clip and ship, so we can clip it and you tell us how you want to clip it, and we'll ship it to you within minutes, hopefully. So can you provide an AutoCAD 2D file from a scan so I can easily use the file? And what would the cost be for, say, a simple residential? Is there more to that, Ian, if you zoom down?
That's it.
Simple simple residence. It's just that little back to top is kind of covering that word there. Yeah, so for a simple residence, again, depends what like if it's just conceptual design that you want to do, then maybe a Screetscape and aerial files are enough, and that's a few $100s. But if you need something that's more current, more detailed, you might be doing something very kind of, like upgrading a piece of heritage or pruning a tree branch, or trying to cut build around a tree or a rock or something very kind of detailed. You need that sort of sub 2 centimeter accuracy and detail, then we're sort of talking more $2,000. So instead of hundreds of dollars, it's more like thousands of dollars. The bigger the area, the more the cost will go up. But for a small residence, you get some Screetscape, some aerial, some exterior tripod of your site, some interior tripod of your site for around $2,500. So similar price to a traditional feature survey. But then to convert it into a CAD or a BIM, there's an additional cost to that. So again, depending on how much you want us, if it was that whole scope area, then that would be an additional few $1,000s. But if it's just one little bit of it, it might be less. But like the architect would have to kind of do that for you anyway. So there'd be a fee associated with that anyway, if you did it the traditional way. So we're trying to keep our prices very similar to the traditional way of doing things, but you get a much better result. We are looking at automating that. So we're not going to go scan to plan, but we're going to go scan to BIM. And once you're in BIM, you can export a DWG, 2D CAD file from BIM. So we're kind of jumping over the CAD bit. We're going scan to BIM, and then you go back a step to CAD if you want from the BIM, and then you've got the 3D BIM as well. All right, cool. Well, thanks for the ideas and suggestions. 3, 2, 1. All right, that's it. Thanks very much for that. For your polls and ideas there. Now, for the moment everyone's been waiting for, drum roll. Do we have a drum? Winner, please, Ian.
The top winner we have is Matt from Maverick Drafting.
Hey! Fireworks. We'll make sure the next event we have some fireworks and some cheering noises. But Matt. So if you want to, in the Q&A section, if you just want to put in there, I won. Don't share that. Yep. So if you go to the Slido Q&A, just. Are you there, Matt? Put in the Q&A. I won. Come on, Matt. Oh gosh, you might miss out on it. No. Okay. Sorry, Matt. You had to be here to the end. All right. So we're going to go to the next one, and it looks like here the next. Ian's done a randomized list, and it looks like next up is. Oh, Derek Sheen. Sorry, Derek, you're Derek started off as a customer of ours, and now he's an investor. So we'll help you out, Derek. But I'd like to give a prize to someone else if that's all right. So next we have Doug McIntyre. Is Doug in the room? Doug, put in the Slido. Maybe we'll go back to the Slido thing. Maybe that's the problem, is they don't actually. There you go. So you can put that Slido, if you're Matt or Doug, first in best dress, go to the Slido. So while we're waiting for Matt or Doug, what we're going to do next is some Q&A. So we've basically come to the end of this really great event. It's been really worthwhile, and we've had some really great suggestions, and hope you've all learned a little bit. And we're going to do events like this more often, and we're going to issue a recording of it as well. So have we heard from Matt or Ian? Oh, sorry, Matt or Doug, Ian?
No, not yet. We're still waiting for those guys.
Okay, so we'll go one more, and then if we don't hear from Matt or Doug, how about Les from Alter Extend Design? Les from Alter Extend Design, are you there? If you QR code the little Slido thing there, and then go to the QA section and go, I won. Then we'll. So anyway, you guys can. We'll now go to the Q&A section, and if either Matt, Doug, or Les, first in best dressed, put I won into the Slido Q&A section chat, then we'll get you $1,000 worth of LARKI 3D point cloud aerial streetscape data. So now we're going to go to the Q&A. Have we had some questions? How automated is the BIM conversion process? Yeah, so not very automated at the moment. We've got some machine learning engineers working with us at the moment. It is a pretty complicated engineering, software engineering, with machine learning, artificial intelligence kind of problem that we're trying to solve, and we're making progress. It's not quite ready yet, but watch this space. In the meantime, it is a bit more expensive. It's a bit slower. It's a bit more manual, but we do that, and we do have some partners that can do that as well. So we generally don't do the higher level of detail stuff. So we've got some partners that can do that for you if you like. But that's a good question, and yeah, watch this space. G'day, Andrew. Thanks for coming along. Can we get accurate AHD levels from the scan data to use in planning Melbourne water application? Yeah, great question. So we're part of one of the other machine learning things that we're working on is automatically aligning different data sets. So we've made some progress on that, and it's better. Like if you were to go direct to our data partners, it wouldn't be as accurate as if you got it through us, because we've got, we're aligning our different data sets together. And so, but it's still not, kind of sub 20 in, depends. In some places it is, in some places it's not. So how we kind of get around that at the moment while we're waiting for the kind of machine learning software to kind of catch up and train it is to provide you some form of kind of site capture. So whether that's, usually it's an exterior tripod laser scan. And so if we've done an exterior tripod laser scan and we've had the opportunity to go to site, whether us or one of our survey partners, we'll make sure that it is geo-positioned really tightly so that you get a really good like sub 2 centimeter AHD. So Australian height datum, that is. So good question. The streetscape and the aerial data has a relative accuracy that's really good. So from one point in the file to another point in the file is really good. But in terms of where that whole file is in relation to AHD, it might be a bit out. However, if you can pay a little bit more, get us out on site, or get one of our partners out on site to do title re-establishment, feature survey, like tripod or drone scanning, we'll use that opportunity to get better survey control so you can get really tight AHD. Thank you, Andrew. Can a re-establishment and feature survey be created as required for town planning? Yeah, great question. So, for the surveyors that are in the audience, please reach out. We are trying to work with surveyors to save their time, and so we can provide the streetscape and aerial data to surveyors. So instead of them kind of pinging one point at a time with the total station and then sort of doing the dot to dot, drawing in CAD and getting a near map underlay or some other aerial photo underlay and then tracing that. So instead of doing that, we can provide the 3D scan data, and they can use that to kind of really more readily understand the site. And so when they go to site, instead of maybe spending all day out on site, maybe then they spend half a day out on site to do a few check dimensions around the place and then check that against the LARKI data and go, okay, cool, I'm confident with this. I've taken enough photos and I understand the site enough that I'm confident to use LARKI's data. And then in that case, we can reduce the price of the feature surveying component. We can squeeze in some streetscape and aerial data into that order as well. So the customer, for a similar price, is getting a 2D feature survey that's by a registered surveyor and some scan data. And we work with those surveyors so that they can provide the LARKI benefits to their customers as well. So they've got the file manager, they've got the 3D viewer, they've got the metro map, aerial photos, all of that they can use to provide those additional benefits to their customers. So we've got some really great survey partners that we give jobs to, and vice versa. Sometimes some of our great survey partners give us back work as well, so we can. So it's a true partnership and collaboration. I hope that answers your question. It's a bit convoluted. We're working on it, but yes, in a roundabout way, through registered survey partners. Yes. What is the workflow between? So there's a few questions here, people. So I'll just keep going through them probably for another half an hour or so. Feel free to jump out, or I might just put this up. So feel free to reach out to Luca or Richard. Again, nicest guys in the industry. You'll love them. They're very well loved. I love them. Thanks, guys. Well done. And so that's just our office number and our group customer solution team email. Or you can connect to us through socials as well there. Thanks for coming, and I'll keep answering these questions. Actually, let's get Luca and Rich in the room as well. I'll answer that question while you're doing that. So, what is workflow between LARKI's model captured and cancelled survey during? I think I just answered that question. Exterior tripod cost is per position or all sides of the building. Okay. So this question maybe for Luca is does the exterior tripod, is the cost relevant to each position, or is it each sides of the building? Like what determines the cost of the exterior tripod?
So we usually price the exterior tripod based on the area that we survey. So we'll go on site with a scanner, laser scanner mounted on the tripod, and we will capture 360 degrees the area that requires scanning. The platform gives you an indicate pricing of the area that you like us to scan with the tripod. However, if it makes no sense or you want to double check with us, so you can always reach out to me, give me a call, and I'll take you through it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so I mean, really the main kind of tripod cost, whether it's exterior or interior, is time to scan, which is usually related to scan setups. So if there's lots of walls or there's lots of kind of ins and outs of the walls, lots of trees, lots of columns, like any kind of obstruction, then that will mean more scanning, which will mean more cost. However, the app itself kind of does it per square meter, so it's limited. It's got a kind of maximum size, and if you kind of get over that size, then we'll do a custom quote for you, or Luca and Rich will. So I hope that answers the question. How does a feature survey get produced under LARKI, and what does it look like in a final architectural drawing? Yeah, that's Richard. That was a question from Richard that I might kind of answer because it was related to the question before. So the way that we create, so you can either, if you don't need the feature plan to be registered, like by a registered surveyor, so we don't have registered surveyors on staff, we use partners for that. So our specialty, I mean, we're really a tech company, so we're building a platform. We do have some internal services just to make sure that we're staying on top of what's happening, and we can make sure that if one of our partners can't deliver for whatever reason, we can step in and make sure it happens. Yeah, if you don't need a registered surveyor to provide that plan, the feature survey, 2D feature survey drawing, then we can do that in-house. If you do need it to be registered, we do have partners that can do that. So how that would look in the architectural drawing is same as what you would get from a traditional surveyor right now. It's just a standard kind of feature survey. The difference between what a traditional surveyor would create and what we do is that we generate it from point cloud data that we've converted into BIM, whereas a traditional way of doing it is they kind of capture one point at a time and they kind of draw a dot-to-dot plan. So we would suggest our way of doing it can provide better results, but both ways are good, and we'll get you what you need for planning permits. But what we generally recommend is does everyone want to say Ian? What we kind of recommend is to get the scan data and the BIM, and then we'll have a registered surveyor on the team as well that will do the title re-establishment. And then so you kind of get the full package, and because you're getting some of the BIM, some of the scan out of the database, it kind of the whole package price ends up being reduced. And it's kind of the BIM. Because we're generating the 2D from the BIM, it's kind of because it's the best way that we get get good quality control of the converting the scan to the BIM. You might have the BIM as well, so it's only a few $100 more to get the BIM when you're getting the feature plan. So it's anyways, So we recommend scan the BIM and the 2D and the platform if you can. Have experience in activities when point cloud data is transferred to a CAD file. How easy is it to transfer point cloud data to 2D and 3D CAD file? So Robert has said that his experience inaccuracies in point cloud data. So I'm not sure whether that is the relative accuracy or absolute accuracy. So I think I mentioned before depending on the equipment that was used to capture the data. So there's LiDAR scanners on iPhones now. So clearly, if you're using an iPhone to do LiDAR scanning, there could be quite a lot of inaccuracy in it. And so and sometimes what happens is when you're cutting things in plan and you're looking at a point cloud, it looks quite fuzzy. So it's not like a clear, defined line. And so the better the equipment that you use, the closer you are to the thing that you're capturing, the slower that you're moving. Like obviously stationary is as slow as you can be. So a tripod scan with, our scanners are between $35,000 and $80,000. Some of our partners use scanners that are like 130 grand scanners. And so those survey grade scanners, when you're scanning right next to the thing, like a meter or two away from the thing that you're scanning and it's stationary, it's going to be super crisp. So the relative accuracy could be something to do with the piece of equipment that captured it. So we don't use the kind of cheap, crappy scanners. So if you come to us or our partners, that relative accuracy will be good. In terms of the absolute accuracy, so where it is relative to map grid of Australia or Australian height datum, if that was the inaccuracy that you're talking about, so the AHD height was different or compared to a traditional survey or something like that, that could be something to do with whoever provided you that data. They didn't align it to map grid of Australia or Australia height datum properly. So again, that's what, if we can go to site and do some survey control for you, then that will fix that problem as well. So relative accuracy depends on the equipment. Absolute accuracy, we've got to make sure that we've got good survey control on site, tidy into permanent marks and that kind of thing. So new map is bundled with LARKI, can download. So really good question, Ricky. We don't have, we use Metro Map, so it's not near map, it's equivalent. It's orthometric aerial imagery that's been captured from a plane. It's captured quite regularly. It's really good quality stuff, but it's for view only on our platform. So because it's kind of bundled in, you're effectively getting it for free, but it's view only. So if you want to kind of download those aerial imageries, you can go direct to Metro Map or Nearmap or one of those other providers. But if you want to do the shapes around it or whatever you do from our platform is up to you. Please advise when recording is available. Will do. Hey, Lana, good to see you. Thanks for joining. If you're scanning to BIM directly, will it reduce the costs? Yes, that's what we are. We're working on some scan to BIM software that will kind of make that cheaper. So that's a work in progress. Is that all the questions?
We have a question from Jesse. How often is high res updated?
How often is high res updated? So the high res at this stage, so we call the streetscape and the aerial kind of medium res. The high res is what we call kind of highest. The most detailed and accurate is the tripod stuff and the drone. Eventually, put that in our database. So we haven't done it yet, but at the moment, how often? Yeah, so it's because you're kind of getting it each, like you order it from us, it costs a bit more for us to send it out of team, but it's current, it's up to date, because we've just got it straight away. So yeah.
We have a question from Angus. When is it coming to the Central Coast?
There you go, Central Coast, Rich. That's one for you from Angus. When is it coming to the Central Coast?
That is one for me. Thank you, Simon. So actually, there's nowhere we can't scan. So that's the first thing we like to tell everyone. So we've actually done jobs up and around that area, and we'd be more than happy to talk to you about how we can help you out with your project. In sort of inner Sydney areas, we can typically access that aerial and streetscape data component. But for a site like you may have up on the Central Coast, what we would do is we'd send the team up. They may send a drone out. If it's a large rural property, we actually scanned a job up near Newcastle where we sent a drone out and scanned about 30 acres of a racetrack up that way, so they could understand contours on the road. But also equally, we can deploy for tripod scanning of both the exterior and the interior. So that'll give you that really richly detailed point cloud for your site. So we can certainly help you out. And by all means, feel free to get in touch after the session. Thanks,
Great.
Simon. Thank you.
Another one from Dinefi. Hi, Simon. How would you plan to extract data outside of Australia?
Where are you thinking? Yeah, so, well, yeah, it sort of depends. Like some of our data partners have, so here, for instance, the Screetscape, our current Screetscape, mobile laser scan provider is Here Technologies, and they think they have the biggest LiDAR data set in the world. They captured it for the autonomous vehicle industry. LARKI was the first to sell their data into the architecture industry. Depending on where it is, we've had inquiries from Japan, Hong Kong, UK, New Zealand, and depending on where it is, one of our data partners might have some data, and we've got reseller agreements with them. So, and if you get it through us, then we can kind of help you with some of that other stuff as well, like getting it on the platform. So you've got the 3D viewer, converting it to BIM, that kind of stuff as well. So making sure it's accurate to HD and MJ, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, depends where it is. So, but yes, we are can do stuff internationally. I'm probably the best one to speak to about that, rather than Rich or Luca, but we do have plans to go international. It'll be probably New Zealand next, but then other places soon after that. So be interested to hear where in the world you're talking about. Diego, next one.
Would love to know the relationship with this new platform versus conventional methods in land surveying.
Yeah, so new platform versus conventional methods. Well, I suppose the big differences there is that if we've got data in a database, you don't need to send a surveyor out to go get it. You can just go on our database and grab data that you need, download it, pay for it, download it, share it, view it, measure it, so that you kind of can't do that with traditional ways of surveying. So I suppose that's one of the main kind of differences. Is that it? That's it. Wow. Okay. Well, it's been a really great event. There's been a lot of work in the background. Big shout out to our team, in particular, Clark and Tao and Jay, and for a huge amount of work that they've put into the platform. Software engineering is pretty full on. So it's, fixing the bugs on the fly and getting it out there to the world. And so yeah, it's new, it's developing, and please reach out if there's things that you would like, or if you've found something that's not working properly, just please reach out and we'll endeavour to get it get it fixed as or added or changed as so we can serve you as best we can. Because at the end of the day, it's about making a great architecture happen through well-fitted, affordable architecture happen through this really cool 3D tech. Thanks. Any final words from you, Rich or Luca?
No, thanks, Simon. As you said, just to reiterate, it's been the whole team pulling together and constantly innovating. So that's one of the great things about these sessions is the feedback we get from all of you really helps us steer the ship and make sure that our platform is responding to your needs as best we can. So we look forward to bringing you future updates as this thing continues to grow. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Simon. 3D point clouds can really make your life as an architect much easier, and definitely have very accurate information without having to be on site all the time. I see through my work on a daily basis, and I feel that I am the external member of an architectural team because we really intimately go through the scope of work and try really to address as many common issues that people have in the industry. So the best thing to do is don't be shy, just give us a call, send us an email, send us a project address. We start a conversation and we'll see how we can help out. Thank you again.
Thanks. Well put, Luca. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ian.
Yes, thank you, Ian.
Ian.
Oh, here he is. Master. Yeah.
All right. Until we meet again, this is LARKI checking out.
Bye, everyone.